So, we've recently got an update for XDefiant on the upcoming launch window of the game, but the unfortunate part is that it's probably not the information that everyone would like to hear if you're really amped for this game. Today we're running down the new XDefiant launch information, what you should know, what it means for the future, and everything in between. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below on what you're hoping to see with XDefiant's future. If you're still going to be playing it, if you think at this point there should be a delay, or whatever you want to contribute, feel free to. But if you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things XDefiant, Modern Warfare 2, and Modern Warfare 3, and all things FPS related. I'd love to have you in the community. And finally, check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage for the best blue light glasses on the market, where code Espresso can get you 10% off your entire order, but more on that a little later. For now, let's jump into the recent news with XDefiant. So this update comes directly from Mark Rubin himself, executive producer at Ubisoft, working on the project here for XDefiant, where he stated firstly by saying, "Hello XDefiant fans, another update for you. I've got a couple of things to discuss, so be sure to read everything. Let's get started. As I mentioned in my previous post, we are currently in our final submission phase, and because we did the first submission, we are in a much better position to do well in our final submission. We still need to wait and see, of course, but the process is really well documented and controlled both at Ubisoft and the first parties. Microsoft and Sony really have this down to a science, which makes our jobs as devs much easier. As I mentioned in my last post, the submission phase is really about compliance and functionality of specific platform services and interactions. As I mentioned in my last post, the submission phase is really about compliance and functionality of platform-specific services and interactions. And while that has been a big focus for us, we also still look at the game for any issues that we would not want to ship with. Again, that is being done by our internal QA/QC teams. The final report from the first parties is due soon, but we still want to fix some bugs, issues that have been found that we think are important enough to fix before launch. We're currently evaluating the work, running some more large-scale tests, and we'll have an update for you once we know more. So for one, I'm personally very sorry that we didn't hit the window that we had wanted. We are working to make the best game we can for our fans. Normally, we wouldn't be sharing all of this behind-the-scenes stuff, but I think it's in the spirit of what we've done in the past, and I also hope that there are people out there that are interested in game development and enjoy seeing behind the curtain. I admit we were aggressive on our expectations of when we could ship, but that's just because we are really excited about getting XDefiant to our fans. Now, following that up, Mark then took to a quick little tweet thread where he said, "Just a quick follow-up from the last post on a personal level. Do I wish we launched the game that we've been working on so hard back in July and August? Yes, of course, but games take time to finish and we weren't ready no matter how much we wished we could have been. And you know, we basically promised the community we would be open and transparent and work with our players to build this game together. But that means seeing behind the curtain, which isn't as pretty a picture as always it gets painted. But what you are seeing is pretty normal. I'm super proud of our team and what they've done and can't wait to get our game where it belongs, in the hands of our players. I think we have a lot of cool content planned for many years to come. Our launch is not the only important moment, it's just the start of this journey. Thank you for all the support and love that you've given us, and can't wait to continue this journey with you all." So the biggest takeaway is that, yes, unfortunately, it did not make the summer 2023 window here that they were expecting to make. And that's something that, sure, is absolutely something that's a bummer, but it seems like it's still all a work in progress. It still seems like that, honestly, that could have been a realistic target, but just things got hung up in submission processes or whatever the case may be. I still think that we will see this launch here sometime soon, but the problem now is with what lies ahead. Obviously, I'm sure that you guys are very aware of what's upcoming in just a few weeks here at this point. And from a player perspective, that's absolutely a bummer if you wanted something to grind out in the time before you jump back on COD to grind out Modern Warfare 3, or if you wanted something to maybe take you away from the COD franchise, which in that case, if that's the case, you still can. But I'd also wager that this is just a big bummer from a developmental standpoint as well. Mark even mentioned that, yes, he wished they could have shipped in July and August. I'm sure that every developer there would have loved to see that because, well, I think at that point you would have seen XDefiant be absolutely something that took off to the stratosphere. Something free to play, something that's a classic COD arcade feeling game, and not overshadowed by anything of like a Modern Warfare 3 launch now at this point. Do I think both can coexist? Absolutely, but I definitely do think that it's going to be a lot smaller in terms of a launch by comparison to what it could be. I personally don't think there's going to be as many players that it will garner the enthusiasm and steal them away from COD as it would have a couple of months ago. I think one of the big selling points was that XDefiant went in with this classic arcade shooter feel, and this entire past year, Modern Warfare 2 didn't really have those classic arcade elements. So for those that wanted it, it was an escape back to classic gameplay. Now that Modern Warfare 3 is coming out and reverting a lot of that stuff, it's reclaiming some of that interest from those that maybe lost it. So again, I do think both can coexist. It's going to be hard to compete with a launch of the best-selling IP for nearly 20 years straight at that point. Is it impossible to do well? Absolutely not. And as Mark mentioned, this is only the launch. It's only the beginning of the journey. With them planning years of content, with them having various numbers of IPs they could pull from for different factions and different maps and different abilities and weapons, absolutely, there is still no shortage of how far this game can go. And I do think that while the launch of this game was maybe going to be an escape for many players, it still can be. Again, if you are somebody that really just likes to grind arcade shooters, maybe you do all your stuff in Modern Warfare 3, like weapon leveling and camos, then you're waiting until the Warzone update or something like that with Season 1. And then you go back and you play XDefiant in the meantime, and vice versa. Maybe you finish all your stuff in XDefiant, you want to play out with some of the Warzone stuff in Season 1. There still is absolutely that possibility, and there's going to be a lot of downtime come January and February up until probably June, July, August, whenever we start to see things pick back up next year. So there's absolutely going to be plenty of time to end up going back and playing the game. It's just a bummer, I think, that the sort of launch itself and the initial introduction might get overshadowed at this point. Is it something that warrants an entire delay of the project in its release? I mean, I personally don't think so. Again, it just might cut into the bottom line initially. I'd love to see it held off until a downtime in COD, because selfishly, I mean, as a content creator, in those lull periods, that's some of the most frustrating times of the year, to have to create content on a game that, one, isn't doing much, or two, you might not be enjoying as much at that time. So to have something new and fresh to revitalize that, that'd be awesome. But again, I don't know that it necessarily needs to happen. I'm sure that they can coexist. It just won't have as much an explosive launch if it's, say, competing the same week as COD or something like that. But talking about release, as we've mentioned before, it is something that they are still going to have a build-up time where they're going to announce a set date for launch. They're going to have time where you can end up preloading and gearing up for that, where they said they need at minimum like a week for that if they wanted to do it really quickly. If they're going to have that pre-launch build up here and they're still waiting for submission verification, and it's not necessarily like we can press the button to go at any point now, I mean, maybe we do see some benefit in them holding off just ever so slightly, maybe launching between the end of the beta and that mid-season update there at that point for COD Season 6, or maybe like shortly thereafter the launch of Modern Warfare 3 before Season 1 kicks in, or maybe even till 2024. There's a lot of options. Just right now doesn't seem like it's going to happen immediately. It still has a little bit of time to bake, for better or for worse. But that said, that is what we're going to call it. Just wanted to fill you guys in on a little bit of an update here with this on where we are with XDefiant and that launch window. Before we wrap everything up, make sure you check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage for 10% off your entire order of what I think are the best blue light glasses on the market. I've used their frames for 2 years now at this point, and have been incredibly happy with every single pair. And honestly, I still have some of the originals that do very well and they keep up with time, absolutely. They recently just released their new Diablo frames, which for those aviator style frame fans out there, these are absolutely for you. Definitely gonna be picking up a pair for myself. But anyways, I can't do nearly enough justice for the studies, the in-depth details they provide, and all the information. That's all linked down below if you guys want to check it out in detail. But what I can tell you is, again, in the 2 years of using their product, I'll say they're the most comfortable, lightweight, and durable frames and glasses I've ever used, and they absolutely help my daily productivity. If you guys want to learn more, honestly, again, I just encourage even just learning more in the description below. Check it out down there. But if you guys want to pick something up for yourself, code Espresso can get you 10% off your entire order, all linked again below. But that said, that's what we're gonna call it. So let me know your thoughts down below. Are you guys happy, disappointed, impartial, whatever the case on this now delay for XDefiant? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay updated with all things XDefiant, Modern Warfare 2 Season 6 upcoming, Modern Warfare 3 upcoming, and all things FPS. I'd love to have you in the community. For now though, thanks so much for watching. On Espresso, I'll see you later. Take care and peace.